We're back again with this new old stock 3733 that doesn't work right. A couple items of curiosity for today's video. Number one, does it perform any different than it did yesterday? And I think it might if it's a bearing lubrication issue, because now it's sat overnight and the oil has had time to seep into the bearings properly. If it doesn't work any different, I think the next plan is going to be to run it, let it heat up, shut it off, run it, heat up, shut it off, etc. Do that, all day, then let it sit for a while and see what happens. I really am set on it being a bearing issue, and so I couldn't figure out the wording, like how to call it, what I was thinking of in the previous video, but somebody, and I forget who it was, but somebody in the comment box described it perfectly. He or she said it's like water. You can move something in water slowly with no resistance, but then when you try to move it quickly, there's resistance. And I think that's what's happening here, because as we saw before, it spins perfectly fine slowly, but I have no way to tell how it's spinning once it's up to speed or trying to get up to speed. So it's possible that when it gets up to speed, maybe there's a problem. Now, unfortunately, we can't even test that because the switch is busted, and I don't understand why. So, I thought that I had figured this out. Inherently, I did not. So, in the previous video, for those that haven't seen it or don't recall, I cracked the switch open, and we took a look inside. I cleaned off one of the contacts because it did seem a bit corroded. And I glued it back together. I bent all the connector pins back up, glued it all back shut, and I thought it was 100% going to work, and it just doesn't work. And at this point, I don't understand why it doesn't work. So we're going to remove this. It's not as good as it was. It's not quite as sturdy, but we're going to take this all out, and we're going to see if we can put the meter on this and check the continuity of the switch. Now, in a future video, of course you'll never throw anything out, so this switch will be around for 50 years, I'm sure. In a future video I might revisit this and see if I can repair it, just for the sake of curiosity, because I really don't understand why it's not working the way it is now. It really seemed to me like if it worked. But I have, which I knew I had somewhere, I had a box of parts from an older, it was like 2010s, I think, 3733. Actually, the one that I was using out in the yard, out in the garage, that one is where this switch came from, and this handle. And I had just wired it to run a high when you plug in, and then that was fine for the use case. So I kept this good working switch, which if I can't fix this during this video session, I will use this switch, which I cut the leads off because this is my typical experience, as it doesn't work after I open it. I will put this switch into the original 3733 that we had from '99, and that will fix that problem. And I may or may not replace the handle. I kind of don't want to, because it's more nostalgic being the way it is, because it was like that for almost as long as I can remember. And then for this one, I have a 3733 down here, which I use in that window, because that's the south side window, so it gets real sunny. So I just throw that one in the window there, because if it gets sun rot, whatever, I'll buy a new one. I don't really care how the switch is on that one. If the switch on that one works, I can take that switch out, put it into this one, assuming that the knob positions line up properly, and then I can just throw any random 3-speed switch into that, and if the knob doesn't line up, I don't care. So let's see if we can figure out why this doesn't work, because I'd like to know. So let's take the meter here. We're going to switch it onto continuity mode. And let's see if, yeah, I'm not going to do that, it's going to cring my knees. Get the chair. Let's see what happens. So according to the wire, we know that the textured side goes on the left. So the textured side is the common, and the non-textured side with the writing is the high side. So this goes high side common, and that makes sense because on the motor pinout it's common and the 3-speed windings. So the high side should feed into these three depending on the position of the switch. We're getting inconsistent readings here. It's all over the place. So it's not making a good connection. It's making some kind of connection, but it's very poor. That's very high ohms for a stupid switch. Now why the heck is it like that? So it's selecting properly, but the connection is super poor. So let's open it back up and let's see if we can figure out why it's like that. I have a feeling that we're not going to get anywhere with this because I've tried this many times in the past, but we'll try it again because now I know some things I didn't know before. I still don't know where the screwdriver is. Here it is. Some things never change. Some things do, some things don't. So the glue, it generally worked. It did break a little bit when I had to turn it to lock it in place, and that was a little bit too much for the gluing. But it generally seemed like it would work. If I use some more glue and let it sit for the full 24 hours, I think we'll be okay. So why does this not work is the question, and I don't see why it should not work, because the only thing I did was I scraped up this contact to clean it off, which it looks very clean now, and then these stupid little thingies here should just make contact. The only thing I can think of is, oh, what was that junk in there? Does these need to be bent down a little bit? I mean, if they get bent down too much more, they're not going to physically reach the right spot. But I'll try to bend these down a little bit more. That's the only thing that's coming to mind that might be a problem here. Try to bend it down like that. And now stick this back. Where does it go? It goes like this. Oh! No. It only goes on one way. I was thinking maybe I put it on backwards, but the shape only makes sense one way. So now I can feel the resistance from that springing down. So let's clamp this shut, and we're going to connect our meter leads here, and let's see what it does. If this doesn't work, we're done with this because I don't understand it, and it's just wasting time. So let's see. That's still a little bit high, but it's not anything crazy. Just make sure that it's only on the one. Yep. Can't turn this thing now without the leverage there. That should be our medium position now. It's horrible. It's all over the place. So now this is kind of behaving like the one upstairs does. Now we got nothing. That's reasonable. Am I not holding the mirror leads in there good enough? Let's try the high speed. It's just not consistent. And then the common should be together. See, that's where it should be for everything. It should be next to 0. Best I can get is about 2.6 I saw. And now people are going to say, oh, the switch is bad, the switch is bad, oh, it's a switch. No, it's not the switch, because we wired it straight to the mains and it still didn't work. I'm going to try to connect the switch. I'll just clamp this stuff back on here. I think what I can do is I can clamp it on the side like this. Which might inadvertently just break it, I don't know. Well, let's clamp this down here. So that would simulate that the switch is now reassembled, put back together. And I guess we can't turn it with the screw. Can we turn it? Yeah, we can. Alright, so that should be off. Let me stick this back into the fan here and let's see what happens. I believe it was Technology's Heritage was able to fix one of these switches, so I might have to ask him to figure this out for me. You know, he's a pretty good information person. He's also the one that knows how to fix the D-blades, which I'll be watching that video in full from start to finish very soon. Alright, so we're going to put this like this. And we'll stick this in here like this. So now the terminals on this side is not making a good connection. I don't know why. 'Cause I had bent them all up, I thought. No, it's not making any kind of decent connection. That's as good as I can get it. It's not going to bend up any more than that. There we go. Now it was making a good connection. Yep, it grabbed the leads this time. Alright, so we know we've got a good connection on the leads. Logically, I don't see why this wouldn't run, but this has proven otherwise. So let's plug this in. We got nothing, no fires, no sparks, that's good. Let's start on low. Assuming it's even going to run, I don't know. I hear the bearings again today. I think we got to put some hours on this. As we've seen over the years, equipment does not like to sit. And this thing has sat for 25 years unused. that might be part of the problem. I'm going to throw the guards on just so that the sound of the fan is accurate, so I can tell if it's running the way that it should be or not. Because these guards are so restrictive, they make a huge difference in the amount of air it puts out. And of course, it being that close to the wall is not helpful either. That didn't last long. So there's something that's got to be a poor connection in this switch. I would say that's like 98% normal right there. I don't know if it picks up on video, but there's like that mid-frequency whine that it should just barely finish that out, and it's not quite getting there. This is about normal. Let me see. I see it just. The switch is definitely flaky. Let's try the medium. Yeah, I don't think that I understand how to fix these switches properly. I mean, I've done everything that would make sense. I've bent the contacts back up. It's shut all the way. I bent the switch contacts down. I mean, what else is there to do? That's no good. Doesn't sound right either. You see, I would think that if it's running below spec, it should be drawing more power. Oh, it's still only drawing 0.43, so I guess maybe not. Let's try the high. So yesterday I recall the low was pretty much normal, the high was close to normal, and the medium stunk, and it's about the same. That's getting close. It's getting very close to the high. Not quite there, but it's very close. So now it's mostly the medium that's screwed up, which is what we usually see with these. So the mystery just kind of continues. I think what I'm going to do now is we got to start putting some hours on this and see what happens. Also in this video, let's go ahead and throw in this other switch. I want to just see if the numbers line up properly. If the numbers line up properly, then I think I will just use this to fix the other one, because it's getting very annoying to have it in the condition that it's in. So if we put this switch on here, and that goes on there like that. We stick this here. Will the numbers line up? Well, of course, go figure. This has to, this ring has to go on afterwards, which is a very delicate component. These little tabs break very easily. I think they're broken on the other one. That's going to be very close if it's not completely accurate. Oh yeah, it's spot on. Okay, so what we're going to do, since this switch is in good working order, I'm going to take this switch and I'm going to install this switch into the other, my original 3733. And we're not going to play with taking the leads out of any of that trash. We'll just solder it right onto these existing leads, because we know this is all working. I don't want to mess with this because there's something I don't understand about this, and I don't seem to be able to fix. So we're going to do that. This I really just don't understand it, because it seems like we're very close to having this fixed, but there's just something that's off about, yeah, this is not making a good connection, and why that is not making a good connection. Does it need to be pulled up? Like that, maybe? And you can see it's lower down than the other one. Maybe you can't see it. I can see it. Oh, now it's kind of grabbing, but not the way that it should be. Like the other side, it grabs pretty strong, but this side just does not grab. I think if we could fix that, then the problem would be solved. It's just not making a good connection. Well, I don't know. Other than trying to bend that back up, I don't know what else one would do. I suppose what I could do, this I think would work. I could stick the wires in there and then solder them in and then glue the switch shut. I could do that. I think that would solve the problem. But one shouldn't have to do that, because that's not the way it's supposed to work. I don't like loose connections because now that's like a hazard. Alright, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bend this as best I think as it should be, and then we're going to glue it and I'll let it sit overnight. I'm trying to bend it up and then back a little bit because all the other ones are back a little bit. It won't come up at all. I'll bend it like that is the best way I can think of to do it. And if this doesn't work, then I'll just solder it directly on and then glue it back shut and see if that works. I just kind of don't like playing with this because if you get a loose connection, that's a very dangerous situation that I don't want to entertain. I think even if I can get this to successfully work, I'll probably just replace the switch in the other one as opposed to trying to fix it, because that switch, even when it was working, it was starting to get very loose, and eventually it's going to reach the point where, or I think it's already past the point, where it just doesn't make a good connection because it's worn out. So we got our glue here. We're going to try this one more time. Let's see if we can fix this. We'll use more glue this time and we'll let it sit for longer. That goes, and this goes like this. I'm going to bend these contacts down a little bit more as well. That goes like that. So I'm going to put the glue all around here this time, and I'll use more of it than I did last time. Because I'll let it sit all night, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll check it again and see if we have any results. I feel like it's not going to work just because I haven't been able to get it to work before, but I don't understand why it doesn't work. That's what's bothering me about this, is it really seems like it should work. It says to hold it for 30 seconds. I'll put those clamps on there and we'll leave it to sit overnight, and then we'll revisit this tomorrow and see what's good with it. And once we can get the switch working again, then we will start running the fan. If it's a bearings issue, once we start running it and the heat cycles, heat, cool down, heat, cool down, heat, cool down of the bearings, the oil that we put in there should start working its way in. We might also have to take it back apart and do another bearing clean out. Alright, we'll let that set overnight. This says that it can take up to 12 to 24 hours to full cure. So we'll give it that, and then we'll come back and see if it works.